Harvard Business School guy, so we're doing cases today. So James is a self-funded searcher. He has been looking for a deal for 9 months and finds a great landscaping business for sale in a nearby city. He uses his model to value the business and adjusts a template LOI to craft an offer. He sends the offer to a buddy who has been doing deals for some time and asks them, how should I communicate to the seller that the deal must be structured in a certain way because I'm using an SBA loan? And I'm gonna ask you guys, what should James do? Should he write a paragraph in his LOI that clearly states his intentions to use an SBA loan, which requires a certain portion of equity or seller rollover? Should he not mention anything, just structure the deal in the way that he needs to? Should he, before he even writes the LOI, let the broker know he's using an SBA loan so the broker can tell the seller, or something totally different? So there is a chat in this fun thing we call Zoom. Pop in your question, or pop in your answer rather. All right, Marcus said 2. I got John 2. Ankit 2 or 4. Orlando, where are we, buddy?
I'm here, Elliot. Sorry, I've got a lot of things going on in my background.
Oh, no big deal.
I'm actually thinking number 1, if that means something for the seller, but I'm not sure.
No, that's fair. So we got 1 from Orlando. All right. So what I would suggest here is 2. I've seen LOIs with long paragraphs about SBA structure and because the SBA, because the SBA, because the SBA. And what ends up happening is if you take your buyer hat off and put your seller hat on or broker hat on, the broker wants the person with the biggest pocketbook. They don't want a contingency of people that need to say yes for the deal to consummate. They're probably already pretty aware you're not a billionaire. And so if you're making a $3-4 million offer, it's probably pretty well known that you're using the SBA. And also when you start adding things like my investors, or I have a group of family offices, or I need the SBA to, if I'm the broker or the seller, I want to talk to the SBA. So now when you're telling me that we're good or there's a checkpoint, and I'm saying, hey, I'm good for it, guys. We have the letter, everybody's fine. If I'm the broker, I'm going to start asking about, well, let me talk to Live Oak, or let me talk to whoever. So I would highly encourage the number 2 option. I would also say, in general, be careful about notifying people that there's other people in your investment committee choice. It's really you doing the deal, communicate it that way. And then my bonus question here is, what if instead of the SBA structure, you get into a conversation about financing contingency in your LOI? Have you guys come across that? No. So one of the things that happens often is brokers will talk about a financing contingency, and they'll say, okay, well, Sally put in an offer at $3 million, but Sally's using the SBA. So Sally has 30 days to look at the data room around the deal. And she has a financing contingency that if the bank won't do the deal in 30 days, she can get out of the LOI without putting down earnest money, or without, sometimes the brokers won't take the business off the market until the financing contingency is over. Stay the heck away from financing contingency. Everybody in this business knows that if the bank won't do the deal, you're not going to walk in there with like duffel bags of $3 million from some other source. And so every deal really has a financing contingency in it. I've seen many buyers lose an auction because they had a financing contingency in their LOI that created a demerit in their LOI unknowingly, because they weren't thinking about how somebody was going to interpret their choice to have one in their deal. Does that make sense? Okay.
It does make sense.
Everyone,
Can I jump in and ask a question?
sure.
Um, about the transparency point, I've always heard people say that that you want to build as much transparency, as much trust with the seller because you would hope that he would still be around after.
Mhm.
So wouldn't that kind of create a situation there where that might hurt the relationship?
So I think there's a fine line between transparency and stupidity, between building trust in situations where you need it and building trust in the first 5 minutes you know somebody where they're not ingesting your trust concept, if that makes sense. So at this stage of the process, you met the seller on a phone call, maybe. You met the broker on maybe 2 phone calls. They don't trust you at all. What they're trying to figure out is how good of a deal person are you, how they're trying to gauge and check how confident they are that you can get a deal done. When you start introducing uncertainty before you've even met a person, when they're already in the space, and if you ask any broker, any seller, did they believe the person who bought their company, particularly someone in the age bracket on this Zoom call, could consummate a deal, they would say, heck no. So my professional opinion is don't introduce additional uncertainty at this point. Now, to your point about transparency, when you're in due diligence, right? So almost like first date, you don't really have the capacity to convince somebody that you're a monogamous on the first date. Just show up, have your hair cut, don't be a jerk. Now, date 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, now you're in the concept of building trust. So you should absolutely do that. So it's a mixed bag. And I think transparency, when you're in a negotiation, can put you in a deficit. So that's my personal opinion on my professional sort of experience. But again, there's a lot of style points in this. And I've seen a lot of people put transparent statements about the SBA in offers and get them done. So it's not really a yes or a no.